Hey, Queens, and welcome back to our very special Queens Behind the Scenes Season 1 reunion. I'm your host, Sharice Beckett, and today is all about celebrating brilliance, the vulnerability, and the power that each of you all brought to this season. This space was built to amplify our stories, to challenge the status quo, and to remind every woman that her voice matters, especially when the mic is in her hand. I want you all to know this before we even get started, that your journey has added a new layer of richness to this community. I am overly grateful. I have been trying not to cry all day because I knew I was going to get you all together. And every single one of you all has poured into me so much in more ways than you could ever even know. And more than anything, you believed in me. And that just means so much. So today we're reflecting on the gems that each of you shared, exploring how those lessons are living in your lives right now. So I know so many things have changed for a lot of us, and getting a glimpse of what's next for Queens Behind the Scenes. So we're going to talk about like what I have going on next. So let's get started. Let's start by honoring the energy each of you brings into the space. And then how we'll do this is I'll call on each of you all by your name so we can avoid talking over each other. I'm not any type of teacher or not trying to be in charge. I just want, and India's like, yes, you do want to be in charge. But when I call your name, just please share your name, your episode topic, and one word vibe that captures how you're feeling today. So India, I'm going to start with you because I see you on the screen first. Your topic and one word vibe that captures how you're feeling today.
So I'm India Gary Martin, and my topic was, that's a really good question. I do know my topic, but we talked about so many things.
Leadership.
Leadership. That's what I call myself, a leadership person. But no, I'm just kidding. My topic was leadership, but we did talk about a lot of really interesting things around it. And the way that I'm feeling today is honored to be in the room with such amazing women.
Love it. I'm going to go to Sharrón next. Dr. Manuel.
Hi, I'm Sharrón Manuel, and my topic was on perimenopause, the good, bad, and ugly. And we also discussed kind of just Black women and prenatal health and how the statistics affect us, as well as many other things. And one word that I would say describes me today that I feel is accomplished.
That's amazing. Great. Erica, I'm going to toss it over to you.
Okay, well, how I'm feeling today is definitely connected to all of you wonderful people, wonderful women. And it reflects on our topic of healthy relationships and why that is so important. So I'm appreciative of that. And I feel connected being in this space.
I love that. And if you all don't know, Erica is my very best friend. She's a therapist. She is our therapist for Queens Behind the Scenes. She's our expert. And Lord knows she's the expert in my life because I need it. So just so you all know that, I'm going to move over to Sherry. You know, your name, your episode, and one word vibe. And you kicked us off, Sherry. You were the first queen to grace the mic. So one word vibe and your episode and all of that.
Yes, hello, Queens Behind the Scenes. It's great to see all of you. I am Sherry Sase24, and if I remember correctly, the topic was about smashing goals. And I think the focus was not about us running after goals, but understanding who we are and what it means to actually execute a goal, right? Day by day, giving us time and giving us grace. And how I'm feeling today and the last few months, I would say, is unapologetic.
Yes. Okay. We're moving to Trisha.
Hi, everybody. My episode was titled Starting a New Chapter, which is pretty appropriate because I'm about to do that again. I seem to have a habit of doing that. But at any rate, and we talked about like working through the fear that comes with that when you are sort of turning your life upside down and beginning something entirely new. And I'm really excited to be here today with everybody. So that's my one word. It's just excited. It's amazing. I think it's going to be a great conversation today.
I think so too. Thank you so much, Trisha. And Trisha and I also, we met through a mutual friend and have just stayed friends and also just comrades and all the things. We're going to move to Lisa next. Lisa is my executive coach. So Lisa is my executive coach, and name your episode because it was obviously so great. And you and India really combined those things about not asking for sponsors. So we got to hit that one though. So Lisa, name, episode topic, and your one word vibe.
I am Lisa L. Baker, and my one word vibe is blessed. I feel so blessed to get to do this work that I do, to be able to do it in community with other amazing leaders, including all of the beautiful faces I see before me on the screen today. My topic was the executive glow up, and we were talking about how we move from where we are to where we want to be and really level up in our careers and so many things that naturally spring from that. This podcast is Queens Behind the Scenes. And what we talked about is having these queens come out from behind the scenes and be in the forefront, owning their power, connecting deeply to what they value so that they can level up in career, in life. Yeah, so it's all about the glow up.
The glow. Love, love, love. And last but certainly not least, Deb Garcia joining us from Paris. Deb, you're obviously everyone knows your name now, but your topic and your vibe.
Yeah, so hi everyone, Deb Garcia. I did the confidence topic. My vibe, I'm feeling very grateful. It is so special to be on this call, especially with India, who had done so much leadership work with Charisse and I.
Yeah.
So it's so lovely to be on this call and to be in community with people who just had like a tremendous impact on me. It's really exciting to be here.
Well, I am so grateful to have all of y'all here. So thank you so much. It's really powerful to hear the energy that you all are bringing in this space. So let's hold that energy as we move into deeper reflections. So let's open the floor for a deeper roundtable reflection. I'd love for each of you to share, how is the wisdom you shared in your episode still showing up in your life today? And we can just kind of popcorn it around. I would say I will go last, but I'm going to give it to somebody and then they can popcorn it to someone else. So I'm going to actually give it to Lisa to start us off with. How was the wisdom that you shared in your episode still showing up in your life today?
Wow, thank you for the opportunity. Listen, one of the things that we talked about in my episode was discovering one's area of greatness, that space in which your strengths and the things that you're really good at align with your passions, the things that you love to do, and your purpose, what you are called to do, the impact that you want to leave on the world. That will resonate with me throughout my lifetime. It's what I help my clients to discover, because in that space, we are our most authentic and powerful selves, and there's no competition. And so it's easy to have that glow up, to elevate yourself when you're operating from your space of greatness. And so for me personally, I am always trying to make sure that I am deeply connected to my why I'm here, the impact that I want to have on the world, whether that's in my family, with my clients, in my community. And so I'm trying to carry that forward always and help others to do the same. Because I think if we have India operating in her area of greatness, and Sherry's in hers, and Erica's in hers, and Sharon and Deb and Trisha, and we're all operating in our areas of greatness, and then we have places where they connect, we have exponential impact that way. And there's no competition, because I can't be a better India than India. There is only one of her, right? She's amazing. Nobody can compete there. Erica's awesome and fabulous too. I just met all these people today, but I already see glimpses of their greatness and how together we are unstoppable.
I love it. I love it. Who you popcorning it over
I'm
to?
gonna popcorn it over to India because I love her eyeglasses.
India keeps a tight eyeglass game.
This is the thing. When I cut my hair, I was like, I felt naked, and this is my accessory. But I'm actually let me just say real quick, I'm actually fangirling over Trish and Deb's hair because that's the hair that I want, but mine just doesn't do that. But that's another story. That's another story. So I'm focused on leadership. I was focused on leadership, and I'm still focused on leadership. Leadership is what I do for executive teams, for people, whatever it might be. But I think the key thing that upon reflection, is the most important, is that there's a leader in every seat, and that you don't have to have a title that says leader to be one. And so the work that I'm doing, when I think about what leadership is, it's really about knowing that there's a leader in every seat, and that for those of us who are more senior leaders, it's our responsibility to grow those talents in more junior leaders. And for those of us who are in the seats of being junior leaders, being emerging leaders, that your voices matter and your voices count. And so, I think that my takeaway and the thing that I'm reflecting on, that I'm seeing, is the wonder and joy of there being a leader in every seat and recognizing that leader in every person that I'm. And I'm gonna pop it over to Sherry.
Well, thank you, India. Yes, the glasses are marvelous. And before I say something, I just want to pause for a minute and recognize Charisse and give her her flowers. Look how far she has come. Look at all of us. I remember the first conversation of, I really want to get this going. I've had this dream for a long time. Congratulations to you. So let's take a time, let's take a moment to give her
Thank
her
you.
applause. And we are pushing those flowers over to you, Charisse. So
Thank
you have
you.
done excellent. You are a queen behind the scene. All right, so take that in for a minute. All right, so now who threw this to me? Was this India?
Yes.
Okay, so let me get my tears together over here. And you know what? You said something really important. Although, we talked about smashing goals, the leadership piece that you said is so important, because I remember when I was evolving in the association profession, and someone said, in order for you to be a leader, you have to see yourself as a leader. And then I was like, that's interesting. And then I started thinking, what do I need to do for myself to get to where I need to be before I start thinking that I can lead people and others and lead things in my life and in my circle? So you have to see yourself first and foremost as that leader. So that's a really important point you made. So we talked about smashing goals. And we didn't get into this conversation such as, set your New Year's resolution and run after it, but rather just some really practical strategies around setting smaller milestones, breaking those goals down into those manageable areas that you feel that you can control, pausing to celebrate those wins that you have in your life, that we have in our lives, progress, no matter how minor, because oftentimes we don't boost our own morale. So staying positive, adjusting our plan along the way, and recognizing that sometimes things are just completely out of our control. And we have to recognize that that's just the reality of the world. Getting support as women, we have a hard time asking for help sometimes, or being vulnerable and telling people we need support. And if that support means in-house or outsourcing support, that I may be the mother that wants to always be there for my kids, but maybe that's not the reality based on where I'm going in my career. So I need to bring someone in that could possibly take my kids to their games. But being comfortable with saying we can outsource and still feel that we are being there for the people we need to be there for. And then also we talked about things such as focusing on the process, staying organized, and also most importantly to all of this, taking care of self. Because again, how do you set all these goals for yourself, for others, for your family members, for the people you work with, when you don't even prioritize yourself, right? So the importance of self-care, self-time, self-reflection, and not feeling guilty for doing something for you. So those are some of the things that we talked about. Oh, passing it on to Erica. And we went to college together too. So that's where I met Erica.
Yes. Thank you. And some of the things, of course, we talked about healthy relationships. And as you've already said, absolute best friends. And what a platform to be able to talk about that. And we talked about how it starts with self and ends with self. Although connection is a part of the process, that connection within yourself is most and first and foremost important, so that these links are able to happen. The connection is able to be authentic. We talked about having authentic, trusting relationships, and that is so important, to be able to be your true self. And that is true leadership. So reminding yourself how to honor yourself even when you're making mistakes, even when the road gets rocky, even when your plans don't go the way you had hoped or as fast as you had hoped, when people may not have done or said what you had hoped, or when you yourself don't come through in that way, and how to work through that. So just a reminder, and I am, as a therapist, very grateful that learning how to trust myself, I get to do that and learn from people like you, but most of all, my clients who entrust me with their space. That's a blessing, and to be able to have that honor, I'm grateful for that. Grateful for people who've allowed me to be in their space in my personal life, professional life. And I think we have to remember those connections, the common humanity along the way. That is how we operate through our best selves and allow every one of us to shine. So thank you.
You want to pass it to somebody?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm just in awe of what everybody said, and this is just coming full circle because I grew up with Erica and Sharice. Like, we went to high school together. I always was over Erica's house. So this is just crazy to just hear everybody speak and just be in the space together. But I would say one of the things that we talked about on my episode is just being empowered and being, especially in healthcare. And one of those ways to empower yourself is to be educated. So I just find myself just, even with that episode and just discussing it just with my family members and friends, you just find out how many things are unknown, or how many things, not necessarily that their doctor is negligent on, but they forget to ask as a patient. So my thing is just being able to educate other, especially Black women, about their own health and being self-advocates in healthcare, and just knowing what questions to ask, especially for preventative medicine. Like, even a lot of my friends didn't know that the colonoscopy screening age has changed for Black women. It's now 40 instead of what it was 45. And that just recently changed, and it's constantly changing. So just being on top of all those things, I think, is important. And I am going to popcorn it to Trisha. Trisha, did you speak, or did everybody go? I don't know if everybody
go.
Okay.
I haven't gone yet. So in my episode with Sharice, I talked about starting a new chapter, but I talked a lot about fear, like overcoming the fear that is just inherent to that kind of situation, right? And I think, I'm reflecting on that today, being here with all of you, because I'm at the cusp of a new chapter yet again, to build this house. So, so I'm starting that new chapter, and I'm also starting a chapter where I'm resetting the dynamic of one of my deepest, longest, most important relationships. And that's, all of this is scary. And so I'm being very intentional about trying to identify when fear is creeping in, because most of the time it's irrational. And most of the time there really isn't a sound basis for being afraid. Like, there's no real reason to be afraid, but anytime you're changing your life, that's when the fears begin to creep in. So just trying to be very mindful about that and being intentional about identifying when fear is driving my decision making. So, that's kind of what's on my mind today. It kind of tags back to my episode back in January, and hopefully I can contribute some good thoughts. I don't think it's possible to be fearless necessarily, but I think we can see it when it crops up and sort of observe it, and then say, okay, what part of that is actually true, set aside, and keep moving toward this dream that I have. So anyway.
That's awesome. Deb, you didn't get.
Yeah, so it's interesting because as Trisha was speaking, I was thinking my mom would say fear is false evidence appearing real. A lot of the time. And so, just to say from my episode, my key takeaway was to bet on yourself. And I would say that as I hear you speak, and it was very much what Erica was also kind of bringing up. So I would say, yeah, my key takeaway would be bet on yourself.
Yeah. For me, I was on every episode, and I took away, I was all the episodes, and I took away something from all of you all. Trisha,
But what was the season highlight?
The highlights, I have one from every one of the episodes, the season highlights. So when Sherry and I were talking, I remember we talked about goals, and we did say it's not about these resolutions. Like, that's what we talked about, is like, maybe when we say, like, we set lofty goals, and maybe it's the goals are still these small things that push you forward in what you are trying to accomplish. So that really resonated with me and was a highlight for me. Trisha, Trisha's inspired me since I met her, because her story is it's nothing short of amazing to me, really. She went to law school at 40 years old. And I remember saying 40 years young. And at the time, I'm like 40 years old. Wow, wait, because now I'm 46 and I'm like, I've gotten older, but when you went at 40, I was in my 30s still, and I was like, that is so cool. That is so brave. But I remember one of the things you said, and I literally just posted this, and you said, sometimes in your life, you have to have the grit and endurance because the stakes are too high and you cannot give up. And that resonated with me so much because it's the truth. Sometimes there's no giving up because, like you said, you invested so much in law school, right? Like, you didn't have an option to be like, well, you know what, I ain't doing this no more with all them hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm sure that was not an option. So that really stuck with me. India's episode, and I'm just going in the order that I see everybody. India's episode, one of the things that I laugh about it because, India and I worked together at Planned Parenthood. She was a consultant with us, and she always know I will gather somebody, and I had to do it quite often in that space. And one of the things that India said about sponsorship and mentorship, and I think, Lisa, we talked about it too, but India was like, it's not a thing. You don't ask people to be your sponsor. Sponsors are in the room talking about you and you don't even know it, right? You don't walk up to somebody and be like, hey, can you be my sponsor? That's just like not a thing. So that really resonated with me. Also, what resonated with me in that episode was Act 3, which I want you to talk about that because I think that is just like such an amazing thing. Sharrón, what really resonated with me in your episode was when we talked about the care team and like having a care team and I started it. I started doing that. I was like, oh my gosh, I really have got to start doing this. And I mean, everybody's in my care team. Y'all in my care team. Y'all don't even know it. You in my care team. You got, but I set up like my dermatologist and like my dog because so many of our body, like the stuff is connected. And so I was like, I need to have them know all about the person that I am. And so I even, started a care team with that. Lisa, our episode around personal brand, from 1 to 10, if we rated your personal brand is a 12. That stayed with me because it is true. How you show up, that's your brand. Or if you want to change your brand, that is also an option, right? Like there is always that way to change your brand and how you show up. You can always reinvent yourself. I've seen people do it a lot. Deb, confidence. When I said I'm going to have this, I want to have a show about confidence. And I started thinking about who the people, who I said, Deborah Garcia, because I saw confidence in Deb when there were times when I would probably not have confidence. Deb was coming in the room like, I know what I'm doing. Listen, I'm here. I know what I'm doing. I espouse my values and I espouse who I am. And I thought, perfect. And you talked about betting on yourself. And honestly, it really just inspired me to do more with even my brand. You know what I mean? So that really inspired me. Of course, Erica and I had a beautiful conversation. We converse a lot. So our conversations are also very organic, but all of these were such organic conversations with her because I know her so well and she knows me so well. We could kind of laugh or kiki, but what stood out to me was not that. It was the fact that she got on here and was like her total professional self. And I was like, well, now let me call Erica Nicole because Erica. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I respected her so much. I mean, I already respect you, but when you have a friend and you see them in their environment, woo, that was it. That for me, that stood out to me because you, and even my mom, who is also one of Erica's biggest cheerleaders, my mom was like, that episode with you and Erica, honey, she was like, that was a good episode. Erica knows what she's talking about. I was like, well, I hope so. She's talking to people, but, but it really, like, all the things we talked about, and we have a group of friends, and you go through trials and tribulations with friends, and we got to talk about healthy relationships and how boundaries are important, and and how to, because a relationship no longer serves you, right, doesn't mean that it never did, right? And so remembering those things. So those really stood out for me. Like all of those were highlights from all of you. And I have some from Joelle, who couldn't make it today, where she talked about community connection, and she talked about the 40-hour work week, and that 40-hour work week going and stemming back from the Industrial Revolution, and how we're not widget makers, right? So what we're doing may be outdated, the way that we're working or the way that we're expected to work. So that really stood out to me. And then Z, who's not here as well, Z Clark talked about breath work. We're both yogis, and so we had a lot in common about breath work, and she did a breath work exercise, so that really stood out to me. And then Tracy Mitchell, she's an she's an Emmy award winning journalist. She's also an author. She interviewed Oprah, but what stood out to me is she said, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I was going to interview Oprah. So she said, I figured out a way to interview Oprah, and she ended up getting the interview. So all of those things, they played a part in how I approached my life after each episode. And the fact that, I know you all as people, and I know these amazing women. I remember someone asked me, they were like, how are you going to keep finding these like really great guests? I was like, I know these great guests. I know great people. These are great people that are in my life. I don't have to go searching now. Next season we might have to search, but I knew I had a group of people that would be willing to share their expertise. And so that for me was really, really important for you all to be able to share your expertise. But also I want to highlight y'all's brands. You have your own brands, and there's not that many opportunities where we have the time or even the space to be able to say, this is what I do. This is my business. If you need me, here's what I do. And we're going to do that at the end, because I think I want all of y'all to get y'all's flowers, clients, and your money. So I want to make sure that we are highlighting all of that. I do have one other question that I wanted to pose to the group, just like, what lessons have you learned since the episode, and what new things are you working on? And I am going to start with India, because I wanted you to talk about Act 3 and the convening that you had. And I think it would be amazing for everybody to hear. And this is your first one, so I want to come to next time. So let's talk about it.
Sure. So Act 3, in my coaching work, what I found is that the women that I coach, particularly who are of a certain age, I'd say mid 40s and above. I found that when I was having these coaching conversations, it was rarely about their work, because they know their work, they know their jobs. It was all the other things around it. Like, when I've had these individual conversations with people, it may be relationships they might have with people at work, but it's never about their job. And then when I was kind of thinking about the underlying, it was around that kind of area of midlife, and not necessarily just menopause. Menopause is huge and important, and it underpins everything, but it was actually the manifestations of midlife, like I was talking about, caretaking and identity, and what's my next career going to be, or am I going to have a next career, or the changing nature of my relationships. As I've aged, I've been with this person, but is this relationship still serve me? I might be a widow, I might be divorced, I might be single, it might be, and it was like, how do I navigate at this part of my life those things? It's like the financial fitness. How, do I have the right numbers for what I need to do, to be able to move forward? Do I know how I might be able to invest? Do I understand? Do I have a strategy around wealth management? Understanding you don't have to be wealthy to have a strategy around how you manage your money. This is called wealth management. Do I understand, wills and estates? It was all of those things, and not only for myself, but for my elder relatives. What happens when they pass on and I'm stuck with all this stuff? Did I have an opportunity to kind of to participate in that? So all of that being said, I founded Act 3 last year with 15 advisory members and 7 global ambassadors from 7 different countries, because a part of this for me was we also wanted women from around the world. We wanted people who understood. There's more that unites us than separates us. And so it was like, how do we ensure that we're pulling in voices from everywhere, and that we're not stuck in this only Western view of how these things happen, because it is very similar for women. We were supposed to be live June 4th to 6th last week at the Washington Hilton, and we had sponsors pull out for reasons of DEI because we're women and some other things. And so we went virtual, and actually it was the best thing that ever happened. We had 120 registrants. We had 13 people from 13 countries. It was a tremendous, tremendous day, which launches our community, which will be, allowing people to come to the platform. I found that it's hard to find, there's a lot of information out there, but it's not aggregated. There's a lot of menopause information, and that's the thing, but I'm not talking about menopause information. I'm talking about all of these other things that we face, which are just as important manifestations. And while we have a section that talks about menopause, we have segments for each of the other things too, so people have a place to come and build community. And sometimes it's just about being with somebody who understands the journey. It's not always looking for answers. It's I'm caretaking my elder parent, and I just need somebody who knows what this is like, or it's, I'm 56 and I'm dating and I'm trying to just navigate this thing, or my female friendships have shifted so dramatically and I didn't expect that, but I have the wisdom to now choose, and I want to talk about that. So as much as it's a space for being able to activate and get resources, it's also one where we are focusing on building community for women in midlife globally.
India, I want to ask, what building all of that, what did you learn? I'm sure you took away some lessons from all of that. What did you learn from putting all that together, from, the dropout, the DEI, all of those things? Like, what did you learn?
That it didn't matter that sponsors pulled out, that women still wanted to convene. That there's more that unites us than divides us everywhere around the world, and that people, and actually, to be fair, that there's a lot that needs to change in this world, and it's going to be women to do it. That's actually
That's all
that it's going to be women who drive the shifts that need to happen in this world, because we are grounded, we are the earth, we are the poles, we are all of it. And so, I think if women can find a way to convene across the things that matter to us, that we have a momentum that just can't be stopped. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
That's amazing. Sharrón, what new lessons have you learned I know you were busy working on some really important science. What new lessons have you learned since our conversation?
I think just taking each moment as it comes and not being overwhelmed. I think in the past I would have been overwhelmed. Even right now I have to get my thesis manuscript for fellowship completed by the end of this week, and then graduation, all these things are coming, and then getting ready to move. Not being overwhelmed by that, just like finding the joy in every moment, counting it. Like my new theme, or my new motto is count it all joy. Like no matter what the circumstance is, difficult or not, finding the joy in something and just being at peace with that, and just taking it moment by moment, and not kind of being frustrated by what the future holds, or trying to find answers for that future right at that moment. And then just again, as far as like empowerment, I've just found that there is more and more of a need, even like in our teen population, especially. Like my teen right now, I have a 16-year-old, and just empowering them to know that they are great and they can do all things that they put their minds to, and just having like that somebody speaking positive affirmations to them constantly, instead of that negativity, and like powering through that. So I don't know. I'm always trying to ask God, what is my purpose, and just finding like beyond medicine or beyond healthcare. And I think that's one of the things that I want to do in the future, is maybe even have like a teen leadership group or mentorship group, just mentoring young women and young Black women to empower them to be confident in who they are and what they can do in the future.
I love that. Well, Erica, what lessons have you learned since then, and what are you working on?
Well, to reflect on what India and Sharrón said, a lot of understanding and recognizing that for myself, trying to be mindful to trust within myself and trust the process, my lane. What am I supposed to be doing right now in my life? How am I pouring into others? I've always, which is why I love the name of your podcast, is because I've always been okay with whether I'm the link at the end of the chain, the middle of the chain, or when it's time for me to step up. And I want to always be good with that. So I want to learn how, when life shows up, how to still be good with me, but also so I can continue to be the link and chain in other people's lives, just like they've been in mine. and be able to on that, my purpose, like Sharrón said, wherever I am and whatever stage I'm in life, because navigating through all these changes, middle age, you're trying to worry about the people before you, the people underneath coming behind you, and just trying to be present. So I want to be always mindful that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And what I'm working on will be some things, of course, pouring into. I'm really passionate about my field. So I had been blessed to have mentorship, people who believed in me, especially one particular mentor of mine, Charles. So I want to be able to provide that for upcoming therapists, do supervision, pour into them so that they can continue to be the links to help other people heal. And wherever that's needed, it might be speaking engagements, it might be other places, but wherever I'm called to be, I just want to be obedient to that.
I love that. So, Deb, what new lessons have you learned since our show, and what are you working on next?
For me, I would say since our show, importance of investing in yourself and not investing in yourself for like necessarily work. Even since our show, I actually invested in myself by getting a personal trainer and developing weightlifting as a hobby, and I think that kind of really being intentional about goals that are not related to work, that you're doing it just purely to invest in yourself is very important. And I think super important, especially for Black women.
Yeah. Lisa, what new lessons have you learned since then, and what are you working on?
One of the lessons that I have learned and am relearning is that conflict can lead to deeper connection. So often people are trying to avoid conflicts and they're trying to avoid what feels like confrontation. But I'm learning and trying to help others to understand that sometimes that conflict is necessary and that you have to confront a situation, that you cannot conquer what you are not willing to confront. And if you're going to confront a thing, it may create some conflict, but if you have a person or people on the other end of that conflict that are willing to engage with you, and you can do that in a healthy and respectful way, that when you get through the conflict, on the other side of that confrontation, there can be then the result is deeper connection, better understanding. And so that's what I am learning and sharing as I get more clear about that for myself. What I'm working on is starting to have a series of conversation with women leaders that I'm calling ladies who lead, because what I get to see in my role as an executive coach is a diverse group of people. I have clients that are men, women, all ethnicities across multiple industries. But what I find particularly with women is doesn't matter what level they are in the organization, from CEO down to more mid or entry level people. There are some things that are just common, and I hope that by having these conversations that we'll start to see that the things that we are experiencing are real, and some of them are just common because we are women and leading in these spaces. And it doesn't matter what level you are, what industry you're in. The fears come up for all of us. The sometimes feeling like we don't belong and having imposter syndrome, it's common. We are much more capable than others may give us credit for. And in fact, I believe women make the best leaders, and there is empirical data that shows that. And so just trying to help us see that, as India said, there is more that binds us together, that connects us than we might realize. We have so much more in common than that which separates us. And again, doesn't matter race, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There are some things that are just common to women in leadership at all levels. And I want people to see that and be empowered by that, to know that you're not alone.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. Trisha, what lessons have you learned since then, and what are you working on? Because it sounds like you got some things brewing.
Well, I do have some things brewing. So, it's as far as things brewing, it's never easy to build a house. Okay. But even taking something that's already hard, I seem to have a proclivity for making it extra hard. So 5 years ago, my husband and I fell in love with this gorgeous tract of mountain land, very rural location. just across the state line from Virginia in West Virginia, Sharice's home state. And so we had a chance to buy it, and we did that. And we've been trying to build this daggone house ever since. So this is our third swing at the bat. I think it's actually going to happen this time, but there's nothing like buying a very large tract of raw land that literally has nothing but logging roads on it, and then trying to make that your retirement home to make you truly, like, it humbles you. I have my own time frame, and then there's the reality of trying to do what we're doing. And it's, it's a stretch financially. It's a stretch for us, just like in the rhythm of our days, because that's where we want to be. And so we spend an inordinate amount of time going. We're here in Richmond a couple of days a week to work, and then we are back in the car heading west. It's been really challenging at times. And there've been times when I've been very, like the second time that we tried to build the house and that all fell apart, I was practically despondent over it. And I started questioning, why are we doing this? And maybe we should let's just go somewhere normal, right?
Let's just go somewhere normal.
And my husband's just looking at me like, have you worked through this yet? Because, this is like when a dream grabs you, everybody on this talk today knows what I'm talking about. You have a dream for your life, and it's such a clear vision, particularly by the time you get to our chapter in life, right? Maybe it wasn't so clear when we're in our 20s, but now it's pretty clear what we want in our lives. And so, I talked about fear earlier, and yes, there's walking through the fear, but then there's also the idea of, like, remember to have fun, right? Like when you're building your dream, when you're chasing your dream, it's supposed to be fun. So, when you are having one of those low moments and something hasn't worked out, or there's, it's rained so much this spring that everything is now pushed back and delayed, and, all this. So like the excavation that was supposed to be done in March is still not done, and all this kind of thing. And like, it's really easy to get wrapped around the axle over things like that. And then you stop having fun. And when you stop having fun, all of your energy changes and everything gets harder when you do that. So what I'm trying to hang on to since our January conversation, Sharice, is don't get too high and don't get too low, and remember to have fun along the way, because when you bring that energy, everything gets easier, and you can just kind of roll your eyes and go, okay, it's raining again.
Right.
It's all gonna roll out the way it's supposed to roll out. And I'm going to do my piece, but like my part of it only goes so far. Yeah. And the rest of it is God at work, the universe at work, however you want to think about that. But I mean, I do believe we co-create our lives, and having fun along the way is a big part of that.
I love that. I have to remember that. All right, Sherry.
It's easy to forget.
It is. Well, no, because I just built a house and it was real easy to forget. Real easy to forget how having fun was supposed to be a part of it. But now it's fun because it's done. But it was definitely, and now I'm coming back your way, Trish. I'm coming back to RVA. So I'll see you some days when you're in town and not in West Virginia.
Let's get it on the calendar.
Let's do it. Sherry, what new lessons have you learned since then, and what are you working on?
So what new lessons I've learned, I'll share that in terms of smashing goals. But the most important thing is really setting goals on your term. And I like what Tricia said in terms of, definitely has a defined outcome, but she can do it in a way that's not so overwhelming, and she can create fun. So those are her terms. And I think that when we started this conversation, I talked about being unapologetic. Because as women, we're always sorry for everything, like even when it's not necessary to be sorry about. And so what I'm learning more of is to not have to always express remorse, because it is something that I believe that I needed to make a decision that was going to support my beliefs and my actions. And I shouldn't have to apologize for that. And none of us should have to apologize for that. And I think that being unapologetic tells us that we can stand by our choices, even if they are not popular or they can be seen as controversial. But we are who we are, and we should be okay with that. And other people should be okay with that too, right? The same way that we give people grace. I think that, continuing to be affirmed in my choices, and also being able to just say no and feel okay about saying no, that this doesn't work for me, or this is going to interrupt my plan, my agenda, my goals. Sometimes, we can't stay on a clear path because we're trying to take everybody else's agenda on, or sometimes everybody else's burden on. And I think, the ability to speak our truth and also prevent ourselves from falling into societal is something that's really important when it comes to being on a steady path in terms of what we want to achieve. And when we talk about achieve, it doesn't have to be a mountain. Again, it's just those little steps and those milestones, those barriers that we want to break, those personal spaces that we're trying to get into. So speaking up without hesitating, setting your own expectations, prioritizing who you are and your self-worth, all of those things are things I've learned. And what I'm working on, I'm a lifelong learner. It is just who I am. And I am always working on self-development, because I found that when I decided to become a CEO, I had to put the time in myself. And I had a very clear path. One was get my PhD. Two was surround myself with different networks, with the type of people that can give me the edge and help me make the social connections that I needed to make. And through that course of action, or that goal, within 3 years, I got my first CEO position. So now I'm a CEO twice over, but it did work because I was quite intentional. So I am looking at getting into corporate boards. Now, I do serve on a number of national boards, but I would like to get into Fortune boards, Fortune 100 boards, Fortune 500 boards. So what I'm working on is sort of charting out that goal in my head in terms of what it's going to take for me to get there. And I do have some things that are currently underway. So always working, again, in small steps, but working on the bigger prize.
Yeah. Well, I can share that some lessons I've learned from all of you all. I learned so much from all of you, but one opportunity I have in life is impatience. I think anybody who knows me knows that I am not a patient person. I am working on it. And one thing I've started to embrace is being happy in the stage I'm in, right? Like I'm building something, but I'm happy in the stage that I'm like where I'm at and I'm building it. And I have also learned that I can feel greatness on the precipice. Like I can feel that I'm on the precipice of something great and I'm creating something great. And just living in that feeling also is a wonderful thing, right? I'm living in that feeling. And for a long time, that was very hard for me to do. It was always, I'm achieving this, I'm achieving that, and it was always chasing the next achievement, maybe. And although I'm achieving something different, I'm getting out of my comfort zone and doing something that this podcast, I had fear and I had doubt and I did it. And, it was successful. I had over 60,000 views for all the episodes I had this season. And, my first thing was, oh my gosh, people are getting 1 million views. Also, comparison is the thief of joy. I don't care nothing about them people. That does not have anything to do with me. That's none of my business. What I know is what I did. And I am going to sit in that. And I know that it'll grow, but I've learned to just really enjoy the journey. And, the results will get there, right? The end result of what I want. But I like chase the feeling of what I'm doing in the moment. And so that is something I have really learned to do, which is something, again, that has not been my MO at all. And it's something I've really had to work on. I've also had to work on, one of my biggest things for life is, you tell me I can't do something, my lick back is doing it. Okay. That's my lick back is I'm gonna do it. But I've gotten away from kind of even that thinking, because I don't need no lick back. I'm just going to do what I need to do. And if you don't believe in me or not, it's really just not important. It's whether I believe in me. And so that's something that I had to get to for myself. And I have some things that I'm going to add here that I am working on that I want to share with you all. And I want to share with those who listen, because the wisdom we've shared today, it's only deep in the lessons and the breakthroughs we experienced together this season in every conversation, from setting the bold goals to building businesses, from embracing radical self-love to redefining leadership. And every single conversation had left its mark, as you can see. Your voices didn't just fill the episode, but they shaped the legacy of Queens Behind the Scenes. Today is about honoring that legacy and celebrating the impact you've had on the community that we're creating and on each other that we have. So I want to break down something before we close. So let's talk about what's next for Queens Behind the Scenes season 2, because it's going to be a whole new level. Definitely a new level. We're stepping into a brand new studio that reflects the power and the elegance and the conversations that we're having. Aesthetics matter. I was trying this on, right? So when I started, I was like, I'm gonna get me a microphone. I'm gonna get a light, a little one of them things. I was like, and my husband was like, yeah, don't go out here buying no. I had a whole kit. He was like, don't you go out here buying no $5,000 camera. And, so I said, okay, I'm doing this. I did it. And now it's time to really, really invest. So the aesthetic is going to match the vibe, and so is the energy that we're going to bring into the space. We're also launching a summer series. These are little bite-sized 5 to 7 minute videos that'll drop each week. Soul deep reflections to keep us motivated, grounded, and I want to keep the platform relevant as well. I mean, let's be real. You disappear, forget about you. So I want to make sure I do that. But I am also going to be talking about living soft this summer. I'm moving. I have a big move, but I am going to be getting into planting. Y'all, I done bought my first Farmer's Almanac, the old Farmer's Almanac, because I heard the new one ain't really all that great. But I bought the old Farmer's Almanac, and anyone that knows me here knows that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm planting these plants. I already have some mint. I have a tomato plant upstairs. My husband almost killed it. I revived it. I was so proud of myself. And so we're going to be talking about some of those things like living softly, because I know that, we saw Meghan Markle in her series and she caught a lot of flack. People were really hating on the fact that a Black woman was actually living in her softness, baking and planting flowers, and I'm right along with her. So I am going to be doing that. And of course, I couldn't leave you without sharing a glimpse of poise. That is my leadership framework, and it's built on precision, optimization, influence, strategy, and endurance. This framework isn't just for women. It's for every leader who wants to lead with clarity, balance, and impact. We've got a book in the works. I just got a publisher today. So wow. That is amazing. Just got me a publisher. And we're going to be having a coaching program that is based around the framework and even a psychometric assessment. And I'm working with a researcher in India to develop this assessment for poise. We're working with the validity and, there's like science behind all this. And so I'm working with somebody that can help me, because although I do have the organization, psychology, and development background, it's hard to do all of that work. And like Sherry, I think you said it, or somebody said it. Sometimes you got to delegate things to get other people to help. Raise your hand for help. I needed help. So I think this assessment is definitely going to change the game. And I'm definitely going to be asking some of you to be some of my betas for that. Poise is a sustainable power, and not just like checking the boxes, but like creating real lasting change. Stay tuned for that, Queens, because season 2 is the blueprint. So I wanted to know if you all had any last words before we close out the show. One thing I will say is please stay on here once I stop recording, because I have to make sure our tracks are all merged together. But if you all would like to leave any lasting words, I'm opening up the floor before we close out.
Just thank you, Charisse, for doing this and for, amplifying and highlighting the work that all of us do. For me, the work that I do, and I hope that I'm speaking for everybody else. So I just want to say thank you. And I also want to just do a 2-second thank you to Deb Garcia, who now has changed my vocabulary, and I say wild every other sentence because that's one of her words.
She does. That is wild.
She did that to me. She goes, that's wild. And now I say that like literally every other day. So thank you, Deb, for that. But Charisse, honestly, I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for amplifying us all. And for, actually you're amplifying us, but you're also providing a tremendous value to so many people who are listening to you, 60,000 of them and counting. So congratulations.
Thank you. Anybody else want to leave with some words? Thank y'all
I
so
would
much.
just say ditto to everything that India said. I might start using wild too now, but no, not but. And what I really do want to say to you, Charisse, having worked with you as your coach, it is an honor to be alongside you on this journey and watch you grow. I can remember the coaching session when you talked about Queens Behind the Scenes, and you talked about it as something that was in the distant future, that it was maybe in your act 3. And just one question I asked, what's one step you could take now? And from that question of one step you can take now, you pulled forward this future dream into your present reality. And it's an honor to see you do that. I'm proud of you. I hope that it inspires others to do the same, to know that whatever it is that you are imagining for your life, it doesn't have to be this distant, far off thing. You can take, as Sherry is talking about, some small measurable steps, some small goals to get there. And before you know it, you will have accomplished the thing that you set out to do. So congratulations on Queens Behind the Scenes, and to all of the beautiful queens that I see on my screen. Sherry, Trisha, India, Erica, Sharrón, and Deb, thank you for allowing me to be in this space with you today. I am inspired by each of you, and I hope that we can connect after this so I can just learn and continue to glean from all the wonderful things that you guys are doing too.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank all of you. I couldn't have done this without y'all. I can't thank you enough for your courage, your brilliance, your vulnerability to share your stories. In the show notes, I am going to have a link for all of your businesses and how to reach you so that the people are able to, reach out to you for coaching or for whatever it is, boards or whatever it is you need. This season is just, this is just one episode in our movement. So as we close this chapter, I do want to carry with us an affirmation. I do affirmations every morning. And this one I would like to lead you all with is that you are not too much. You are not too late. You are not behind. You're the blueprint. You are the standard. And you are just getting started. Season 1 was a love letter. Season 2 is the blueprint. I want to thank every single one of you for being a part of this. I couldn't thank you enough. I couldn't do it without you. We're going to see y'all. Some of y'all going to be back for season 2, but I just want to thank you with all my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until the blueprint.